I'm Dr. Rob McKenna, and welcome to the WiLD Conversation, where we make the best thinking in psychology, leadership, and organizational science accessible to leaders who are willing to learn and edit for their sake and for the sake of others. And over the past few weeks, I talked with leaders across multiple generations about trust and the generational challenge they feel in their jobs and in business. One leader in his late 20s said this to me. He said, when I first entered the world of marketing and advertising, I thought that most older leaders and people I worked with were a little out of touch. He said, it was this honest answer. He said, I thought they didn't understand how technology has impacted our industry and changed everything. I didn't trust them. And he said, now that I've been in the working world for a bit, I've realized that some of the generational principles in marketing and advertising have pretty much remained the same. Like they knew something that I didn't know yet. Another more seasoned leader said this. She said, younger workers seem to need to feel validated and feel confidence in what they're doing in a way that our generation didn't. She said the older generation is surprised sometimes that there's pushback when they question the process and what needs to happen. And she said, I don't know if it's trust that's not there or what, but it's challenging. I know that I need to spend time showing compassion and hearing them, but it can be really hard to do that in the face of very real business deadlines and the necessity to get the work done. And sometimes I feel like they aren't willing to step up to those moments. And finally, I spoke to a couple of younger people who are about to enter the workforce in their early 20s. And I realized something that I actually don't even fully understand. I actually didn't even fully understand how they communicate. One of them said this, said, trust seems like a really big thing. And why trust? It feels almost too big to tackle. What do we mean by trust? And by the way, then he went on to educate me on when his generation uses Snapchat and when they use texting. So that's a whole nother conversation. But I know that today we have people who are hearing this who can relate to different parts of those comments. And you have your own story from your own generational and experiential perspective. And as we jump into this conversation about building trust between generations, I want to be really clear about what we are talking about and why trust, because those of you who are new today and haven't heard some of the framing. So very quickly, I want to touch on a couple things. First is this: trust is impacting us in every moment. Without trust, nothing happens. And without whole trust, nothing happens well. A lack of trust causes us to make poor business decisions because we talk around each other when we don't trust each other, or we step on each other. A lack of trust is viral as it spills out into so many other things, every interaction in our lives. If I don't trust you and I work with you or I live with you, I stop communicating clearly and fully. I make decisions based on too little information. I become self-protective over healthy and whole. And as I distrust you, others will likely come to distrust me. Crazy. Trust. This is so powerful. It is the concrete result of our belief in each other. And we cannot believe in each other if we do not know ourselves and know each other. If I trust you, I will choose to believe that you will be there when I need you most. And in order for me to believe you will be there, I have to know you. And how can I know you if you don't know yourself? Trust is the key outcome, but it's not the formula. That's something I want to be clear about. It's the key outcome, but it's not the formula. The formula is something that I've spent my lifetime studying, practicing, trying to practice myself and working on with leaders. And the formula is the development of a whole person. My sons are here today. And as they continue on their journey into the workforce to serve, to perform, to work, and to work well with others, they cannot do that well from a place of complete brokenness. None of us are whole and complete, but we must be on a journey toward understanding ourselves, our unique skills, our motivations, our purpose, and we must be supported. Broken people who are not learning and growing through the challenges presented by life and work are hard to trust. And if we're like that, and if our coworkers are like that, we are hard to trust. We must know ourselves, and we must know what I often describe as contextual awareness. Part of what readiness is about is understanding the water we are swimming in. And like it or not, as part of different generations, we are swimming and have been swimming in different water. Like it's just a reality. So let's talk about generational differences. And as I describe the following generations, you will know where you belong by when you were born. Okay. Some of you are sitting forward right now. You're like, let's go. Okay. There will likely be a pressure on you to either put yourself right in the box I described for your generation or to take yourself out. So as I describe each of these current generations in the workforce to you, here's my challenge. As you hear this list, what is the trust dilemma for each generation and for those dealing with other generations? Let's talk about baby boomers, baby bumpers, baby boomers. That's who you are. This is the generation born, you know who you are, between 1946 and 1964. Some of you want to argue with where they are, but I'm just saying I did a bunch of research and you can put yourself where you want. Here we go. They are known for being optimistic, competitive, sometimes workaholics, and team-oriented. The historical events that shaped them were things like the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and Watergate. And as I mentioned Watergate, I'm aware that many Gen Z folks may not even know what that was, but I sure hope you do. I sure hope you do. They are known for being motivated by company loyalty, teamwork, and duty. What's the baby boomer communication style? Whatever is most efficient, including phone calls and face-to-face meetings, by the way. Again, Gen Z folks, keep in mind that those modes are what they see as most efficient, regardless of what you think. So what's their worldview? Their achievement only comes after paying your dues, and the importance of sacrificing for success or significance. And here's a little bit of data. 49% of baby boomers expect to or are already working past age 70 or do not plan to retire. They are sticking around. So the rest of us must figure them out and understand them. They are a force to be reckoned with. Here's the untold story. You were frustrated by Gen X because they wore flannel shirts and grew mullets. Millennials don't know the meaning of hard work, and Gen Z might as well be from Mars. You love them all, but are not sure what to do with them. Okay, so Gen X, let's talk about Gen X. This is the generation born between 1965 and 1980. This is my generation. I'm just thinking of The Who right now. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, we are known for being flexible, informal, skeptical, and independent. We were shaped by our experience of the AIDS epidemic, the fall of the Berlin Wall, global brands taking over local brands all across the globe, the dot-com boom and its fall, and the birth of the internet. What motivates us? Diversity, work-life balance, our personal professional interests rather than the company's interest, and entrepreneurial thinking and opportunities. How do we communicate? Like our boomer counterparts, whatever's most efficient, including phone calls and face-to-face, and texting. Poor texting with typos and full sentences and sometimes paragraph. And by the way, that was a gift for the millennials and Gen Z. Just so you know, I'm just giving you some little bombs right there you can use against us. What is our Gen X worldview? We favor diversity, are resistant to change at work if it affects our personal lives, and nearly 55% of all startup founders, listen to this, are Gen Xers. The highest percentage. So we are a force to be reckoned with. The untold story is this: you Gen Xers have some guilt for letting down the conscientious and hardworking boomers. You know you're relatively tech savvy, but secretly feel out of touch. You are frustrated and that millennials let go of the guilt of being conscientious and sacrificial and secretly wish you could have. And Gen Z has told you to stay out of Snapchat. All right, so we're going on to millennials. This is the generation born between 1981 and 2000. You are known for being competitive, civic and open-minded, and achievement-oriented. Primarily your own achievements. You grew up through the experience of Columbine, of 9/11 and the expansion of the internet. You're motivated by responsibility and ownership, the quality of your manager and having unique and bespoke work experiences. You're known as the trophy generation. Everyone got one. Your communication style and preference is instant messaging, texts, and emails. Your worldview is about seeking challenge and adventure, growth and development, and a fun work life and work-life balance. And you're known for being likely to leave an organization if you don't like the change. You millennials will make up 75% of the global workforce by 2025. And a lot of you live with your parents. Okay, so we're moving on. The untold story. I'm not getting, there's some data around that. It's interesting. The untold story. You live in a boomer world and are well aware that they did not understand the trophies you got. You know they believe you all got them, but you are now facing the reality that many of the things you used to distrust about boomers and Xers, you're now experiencing as truth yourself. So you are reconciling the reality that you are soon to have the keys to the kingdom, and you need some advice from your seasoned and older predecessors to deal with Generation Z. All right, let's talk about you, Gen Z, because I know there's a few of you listening and reading right now. So here we go. You are the generation born between 2001 and 2020. You're known for thinking globally, being entrepreneurial, progressive, and less focused. You were shaped by life after 9/11 because it is your parents who have stories of you being a baby when it happened. The Great Recession impacted many of your parents and you grew up having access to technology from the start. You are motivated by diversity, personalization, individuality, and creativity. Your communication style is so foreign to boomers and Xers because you talk to people through social media, snaps, instant messages, and on a rare occasion, texts, but mostly only if your parents threaten to stop paying for your phone unless you text them back. That's a little gift to the Xers and the boomers. Okay. You don't self-identify as digital device addicts, but you are glued to your devices, and just look at your screen time each day. And by the way, other generations, we are too. We just use different apps. You value independence and individuality, prefer to work with millennial managers and innovative coworkers and new technologies. 67% of Gen Zers want to work at companies where they can learn skills to advance their careers. 80% of Gen Zs believe government and employers should subsidize, pay full tuition, and provide direct training for students. As you were hearing me describe those generational differences, I want to make a few things clear based on the research that's there. First, let's all be careful, very careful about putting individuals into generational boxes, or any box for that matter, be it personality, behavior styles, colors, numbers, or any other label. The growth mindset research makes it clear that when we reinforce a fixed mindset through labeling each other, and we talk that way, it reinforces a fixed mindset in that other. Generational differences, by definition, listen to this, by definition, are environmental influences and can be changed. Some things like personality don't change that much, but everything else is up for grabs and can be changed. We are not stuck. So we must use stereotypes and group level labels very cautiously and with care for any group or individual. Second, we're all living at a very interesting time in history. A few years back, a book called Blown to Bits was written about the changing value proposition in many industries and how the value proposition for many industries have been blown to bits by this simple reality. In the past, when we wanted to make a decision about messaging, we had to make a compromise between richness and reach. In other words, I had to make a choice between the richness of a message and the number of people I could reach with that message. The advent of technology blew that to bits, as even something as simple as email, and the internet made it so we no longer had to make that choice. And that change completely transformed the news industry, the media industry, music, for those of you who remember Napster, and even the real estate industries. And today we are all living in that reality at a completely different level, all of us. Never in history have we not only been able to communicate a rich message to millions with the touch of a button, now those messages are customized to individuals. Our devices hear us and feed us what we think, because what we think is what we talk about out loud. It's kind of crazy. And finally, when it comes to trust, there is something that has not changed. This fundamental reality hasn't changed, but maybe we all have become a little less elastic in our ability and willingness to change. The one thing that has not changed is the necessity for two things to occur for me to trust you. In order for me to trust you and for you to trust me, regardless of our generations, is for me to be clear with you about my expectations, and for me also to understand what matters to you, to be compassionate and clear at the same time. And if you look at the voices in culture, as well as the research out there on building trust between generations, the fundamental truth is that we must be compassionate and clear at the same time. The difference is that between boomers and Gen Z, there's been a shift on the emphasis on clarity to an expected compassion and care. And we must have both. I'm kind of condemning myself and all of us. We have to do both as opposed to swinging back and forth. The fundamental truth in trust and leadership and teams and working well is that we have to have clarity. You just look at the literature out there, it's unbelievable. It stands the test of time. We just have swung generationally in terms of what we're emphasizing. A clear job to do with clear expectations is not only necessary for you to trust me, without it, our organizations and teams will not perform. And in most cases, organizations that have been able to ignore this are either over-resourced with funding from somewhere else, or they have so much margin that they aren't having to be concerned with this reality yet, that clear jobs are important and performance matters. And for those of you, you just got to do your job generation, you're right. But we miss something else that's critical. We're working with human beings with intrinsic values and different intrinsic value and different approaches to life and work. And even though many of us didn't have compassionate leadership or management modeled to us, we cannot lean into that excuse. Our job as leaders is to provide clarity, consequences, care, and compassion to our people. And that is precisely why whole and intentional leader development will never go out of style as the pathway to building whole trust in our teams and organizations. Whole leader, employee, and team development, not partial, not just care, but also clarity. It's not a seminar or a once-a-year training or a popular book. It's an ongoing commitment to invest in the whole developmental story of our people and ourselves and setting the expectations high with care. And if those things I described are generational differences of the water we swim in, I want to just offer you this, is that I hope that what I did today as we open up a conversation is just say, like, as you think about those differences, what is the water I'm swimming in? And maybe as we get into this conversation, we continue it. This is why I'm excited that we've got a cross-generational group today. What is it that was interesting for you in anything I just said? And where does that take your mind? So let's get smarter together and let's keep the conversation going.